Brand disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed by individuals on this platform, the callers plus invited guests, are their own. The information you hear does not reflect the overall views of all parties associated with this brand. We encourage everyone to research all things heard live or via archive for edification purposes. Discretion is advised.
Don't touch that dial. You're now listening to Debate Talk Free Radio.
All right, so again, like I just mentioned, today's show is entitled Understanding Rastafari. I believe my special guest is here. 876, who am I speaking to?
Jerome Sage Butler.
Hey, what's going on, my brother? How you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. I mean, how about you?
All right, man. Ready to hear about, Rastafari, understanding it, I saw some of your videos on YouTube. Let the people know a little bit about yourself.
Oh, okay. Well, I am Jerome Sage Butler by the way, I'm a Jamaican. For many years, I guess I've been like a spoken word artist, a poet, and just a philosopher, a person seeking for meaning in the reality that we call life, and just studying it through the cultural eyes, and then through the spiritual eyes, and then to the religious eyes now. That's where I'm in my growth and my self-development. So I do a little bit of reggae music and poetry. I have a online channel on YouTube, on Tree Alive Television Networks, and that's TREEALIFE because it's Patois, Tree Alive Television Networks, and that's on YouTube. And then there's a professional channel that I do the work. That's my personal channel. The professional channel is Sela Media, and I think that's where you probably would have seen a lot of the videos. And Sela Media is also on YouTube, and it's SEALA Media, MEDIA. So, basically a person just trying to share the word, just because our group in Trail Life was always about artists sharing their philosophies, their beliefs, their spirituality, and growing from it. So we turned it into a channel and now into two channels, and just growing along the path.
All right, so what I'm gonna do, family, I'm gonna leave the link in the description box, family. I'm gonna leave the links to the YouTube page, the Facebook page, for all those who want to reach out to Jerome Sage Butler. Once again, the number is 319-527-6239. And again, family, feel free to chime in if you have any questions. We have a lot of listeners on the program listening to the show. You can now actually chime in by dialing the number 319-527-6239 and press number 1, and we'll add you in the conversation. I'm in New York City, my brother, and if you ever been in New York City, everybody's over here, man. Mixed box, And I have a couple of friends that's from Jamaica, and I always vibe with my Jamaican family, And as far as Rastafari, all I know really is about the music, like Bob Marley and things like that. So let me know pretty much when it comes to Rastafari. Is it like a lifestyle? Like, did you grow up in it, or did you learn about it and partake in it?
Nice. I like when you ask questions that makes me a little easier. Makes it easier for me to frame it. I didn't grow up in the Rastafari lifestyle. But let me say this first. Being Jamaican, right? We all have something in common, right? Even if we have different spiritual or religious outlook. So growing up, majority of Jamaicans who grow up as a Christian-oriented kind of a personality, right? Based upon the fact that the institutions and the church, are basically one and the same, and that's where the moral code comes from, and it influences everything. So then that is usually always there. And then, there is Rastafari, which is like the cultural, you understand, and giving you African-centric, African attentions and everything, and talking about things that the Christian-minded don't necessarily talk about because it's more, the stuff that is more to heritage and culture, and they're more to like, religion and a spiritual and a religious identity. So I never grew up Rasta, but the culture is around us. So we were like, let's just put this for those who don't understand. It's like you're observing, those people going through life, and you're always wondering, because I grew up 80s and 90s, so like where my cognition is. So at that time in the 80s, Rasta had a little taboo, but not as much as they had in the 70s or the 60s or the 50s. So it was always progressively getting better as some form of, what do you say, assimilation, maybe? I know some Rastas probably listening and they don't want me to say assimilation to offend them.
Yeah.
But they were getting more accepted in terms of being understood. Can I say that instead of saying assimilated?
Yeah.
People were understanding their point of view, and even though disagreeing, were willing to say, I can see that, these are, Jamaicans and they're here. But by the 90s now, the Rastafari movement had like what you'd call a revival, right? What do I mean? Because some people say it never died, so what are you talking about? So remember, Rastafari is vast viewpoint, so I can't speak for all Rastafari. I'm just speaking from my understanding of what I've experienced, In the 90s, Rastafari went through a musical revival through reggae music, right? And because through the 80s, the music that influences the people through the culture so much, but mostly, sexualized, and not that sex is bad, but, it wasn't a good image of sex and the woman, the family, and such, and violence. It wasn't really, it was called slap music, if you can understand Jamaican slangs and culture, right? Lewd, that's what some people say, derogatory in the next one, but we just call it slap music, right? So in the 80s, the slap music got too strong to the dance hall, because the 70s was about reggae, right? About culture, about consciousness, about awareness, and then came the 80s, it was just loose and lewd. Then the 90s had that revival. They brought back kind of, a cultural identity and, strong Rastafari viewpoints in the music, and the major Rastafari artists at the time got really popular, You had people like Capitan, Butcher Banton, he converted from being like a regular lewd artist to being like a very conscious artist. And so the 90s when I was like going to high school and seeing life, I'm a teenager, right? So I'm looking around, I'm looking for meaning. So we all grew up with a church background, whether we were like there every Sunday or Sabbath or not, but we were like, that's how we were growing. And so we're looking at the culture now and, seeing that, it's part of our identity. So I, through the 90s, got closer to it. And so let's just say that was my introduction to Rastafari through the music. And I listened, late 90s now, I started listening to Sizzla. So then I got more interested in what he was saying, because maybe the other people were not necessarily connecting with me, but then he connected. I would say he had a lot of English, and for a person who kind of groomed a certain way, in the English kind of helped. So then, his point of view was very vast. So then I started listening, and then I listened back to Bob Marley, and so the understanding of people who do not necessarily want to be identified with a European construct of a person started becoming clear in my late teenage years. I left church like about age 20, 21, and started, traveling along the Rastafari path because I wanted to find self, and express through that culture. So I started searching for Rastafari, and I come to understand that Rastafari wasn't just a belief in Haile Selassie as to what we were told. Obviously it's strong and it's been redefined and constantly evolving, but at that time it was all people knew. Because if you're a Jamaican like in the 80s and the 90s, what people would be basically saying is that, Rasta, you say Selassie, your God, and Selassie is a man, and Selassie dead. You see?
Right.
So they would be saying, really, what are you really saying, right? So it's like, then I started studying and I realized that, they're talking about Marcus Garvey too, which is our first national hero, right? And Marcus Garvey is not just a black nationalist, but I'm sure if you're looking at him intellectually, some people say, well, he's a black nationalist. And he formed the UNIA, Universal Improvement Association, and he sort of tried to put in context, in the modern age, a black man's self-image that was worthy of our ancestry, and that was like admirable. That's how they really revere Marcus Garvey. And then I started realizing that they were really about African, what we come to know at the time as African retention, like really wanted to go back to the old identity, the original. So Rastafari, if you want to put it in a kind of a soundbite, it's about originality, authenticity, at least that's what I understand it to be.
All right, once again, family, the number is 319-527-6239. I see we got someone pressing number 1. I'm going to get to you in a few minutes. But so it's safe to say that the music, reggae music, was the first thing some of the artists inspire you to do some research more into the Rastafari lifestyle, right? So what are some of the artists that you say really inspire you to dig deep into it?
Well, like I said at first, I was like 19, 20, 21. So it was like mostly 2021 at the time, because I was still listening at those ages, because my brother usually played Sizzler, right, Kalanji, right? So my brother was like loved music, so I think he at that stage wanted to be some kind of maybe a sound selector. So he just always would buy like car radios and like speakers, and he would do his own stuff and build his own sound system, So he would always play reggae. He wasn't like into any kind of music, straight reggae. So he would play Sizzler. So it was playing in my background from about 16, right? And I would help him go place and play. But it wasn't soaking into the psyche, into the spirit deeply. That started about like I said, about 2021. And it was Sizzler really. Started listening to him, and this album called Black Woman and Child, and it is in terms of a deep dichotomy of self-identity and deep poetry. And there were some great monologues as well too. So I've come to understand, at the time it was just great for me to listen to any kind of information that looked on the identity and the person that I was becoming in a different manner to what I was familiar. And I wasn't necessarily so pleased with what was familiar. So I was really, some people say they were just finding themselves. So it's like you're not rejecting anything. But I was kind of rejecting something. I was a quiet kid, I was like a nerdy kid, right? Soft into myself.
Right.
So for me to be saying I was rejecting, what the identity was, it was purely experiential, and I didn't have any intellectual kind of backing to it. That's what Rastafari gave me, because when I started listening to Sizzler, the same thoughts are in me, But the thing was, it's like you have to awake them, and he did that. So then after he did that, then I listened to people like Bob Marley. People say the Bob Marley thing all the time, and it's like this big ass cliche. Sorry if I ask the wrong thing to say, but it's like this crazy cliche.
Yeah, keep it clean.
All the time. Like, people are Bob Marley. But so it was Sizzler, then I listened to Bob Marley. Why? Because what I recognized was, but people ever say, Bob Marley is, king of reggae. And there was a message, so he was still like our standard bearer. So I said, let me listen to Bob I said for you. Like in a country. But then, it's like Bob just took over for about like 3 years. So I didn't really listen to nobody else for about 3 years, to be quite frank. It was like, Bob Marley. So I listened to all the albums. So I'm not a Bob Marley fanatic to tell you all the albums and what the songs were about, but I can tell you some songs that really touched me, right? And, there was a song that came out at the time, it's like about, Iron, Lion, Zion, And, I would say, like it was a simple song, but the fact that you didn't hear it before, and so it was just out, and I was like, whoa, it made me listen to Bob even more, and then I got into the deeper stuff now. And songs like Chuddy on a Wine Press really touched my spirit, because I realized that he was a great orator, he was a great writer, also a great philosopher. So I don't necessarily look at music just in terms of its notation and its arrangement, its composition, right? That's all good, right? But I'm also trying to listen to find, like, meaning, because I'm a literature person. So I was, like, listening very keenly to kind of hear for something that wasn't necessarily so everyday. And I think he was deeply steeped in something authentic, And I think Rastafari sparked that in him, So Bob Sizzler was it for me, I don't really... nobody else, because I don't really want to play, because I'm not promoting reggae like it's a standard bearer for anything. It's just my experience, right? So those two artists really kind of got me into the consciousness, and as I said, for many, many years I listened to Bob, and it was only him, because the message that I think he was bringing was more heartfelt than a lot of other people, And then after that, I listened to Burning Spirit for a while, because later on I found out he was a poet, because I started writing poetry, because all that consciousness really had to go somewhere. So I started writing poetry and, seeking an avenue to express, and started getting into the culture, like meeting the artists and some of the artists who were like famous. So that helps you, because you realize that it's a lifestyle, right? It's not just something that was written in a book. So then you have to observe the elders. And what I observed was that everybody talks about marijuana. I think everybody wants to get to that part. I mean, we're just like, come in.
Yeah, we gotta get to all of that. Yeah, we gotta get to all that part, marijuana, all of those things, But again, the number is 319-527-6239. I see we got a caller. Let me take this first caller, and I have a co-host that's going to be joining me as well. His name is Messenger of Truth, so I'm going to bring him in, to ask some questions as well. But let's take this caller. 786-853. You live?
Yes. I am Travis L. Big up yourself.
Bless you, Travis.
Yehovah be praised. Yehoshua be praised. Ruach HaKodesh be praised. Glad to be here with my Rasta brethren. Here to support my brother Jerome Sage Butler. Up for Brooklyn, New York in the building. Host. Blessings to you, Majesty King. Good to be here.
Hopeful, brother. Respect every time with the Travis. Give time for the work. And, continue. You're a good work as well, my brother. Every time.
Yes, sir. Kings unite.
Yeah, man. I appreciate the call, my brother. Appreciate the call. All right. And once again, the number is 319-527-6239. Anybody can call in. Let's press number 1 and we'll add into the conversation. I believe my co-host is here, Messenger of Truth. Welcome to the show.
Yo, greetings, Sal. Greetings, Jerome. Yeah, blessings. And to the next brethren that just came on, is he the other guy that's going to be on the show? Or is he just
a random caller? It is random.
Yeah, I'm just listening. I'm just here, brother.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so it's really just Jerome, right, as far as the Rasta?
Right.
Okay.
Just Jerome.
All right, well, cool. I'm excited. I'm happy. I'm actually pleased, Sal, that you thought enough about me to, it's like a parent that allows somebody to babysit their child. I know Debate Talk for you is your baby. You trust me enough that I ain't going to mess around with your baby. You know what I mean?
That's
so I'm
right,
actually pleased I'm pleased and I'm comfortable, to talk to Rasta. I know and the other night we was all on, and a lot of the guys that were on, they didn't really know much about Rasta. So some of the things that I'm going to ask is really going to be pointed deliberately, because I understand that a lot of the black Westerners, or even just Westerners, period, don't really understand Rasta, or they misunderstand Rasta. So, but I don't. I don't, because I've been born around it. Got family who's Rasta. I got friends who's Rasta. You know what I mean? Anybody from pretty much any predominantly black island, even British or not, even the U.S. Virgin Islands, you should understand a Rasta. Some of the things that I talk about, they're not necessarily Rasta rooted, but the reality is trying to separate Rasta from Jamaica is like separating a hammerhead from the handle. The hammerhead becomes useless and the handle becomes good for nothing. You kind of can't separate Rasta from Jamaica. So some of my questions probably will be, dual type questions about the culture of Jamaica, not necessarily the Rastafarian influence specifically. But I'm excited to really actually talk about it. It's a little bit different from the typical debate talk for you, and I don't really get to talk to too many islanders these days unless they're from Haiti. But so I'm actually looking forward to tonight.
All right, so yeah, Jerome, you know what? Hey, what's the truth? Go ahead, man. Ask your question, my brother. You got the floor.
All right. So basically, I'll just tell you a little bit about myself for your comfort level. Number one, I'm not a Yankee. I can say that to you. Because you understand. Sal, a Yankee is basically an American, right?
The American.
So a lot of islanders. Okay. Some of your listening audience may not know what a Yankee is. They may think it's derogatory or something like that, but it's not. It's just simply a word that means American. I used to sing a lifetime ago. I'm not that man anymore. My first show was Garnet Silk. I think I heard you mention Garnet Silk. It was Ninja Ford.
One of the good artists, that man. Yeah.
Right. Ninja Ford, Major Mackerel, Barris Hammond, Sister Charmaine. That was my first stage show, 1991. Got a #1 music video in 1991, a Grammy Award for favorite male vocalist in 1993. My absolute last show was with Barry Hammond, and that was about 15 years ago. So yeah, you're not talking to somebody that really don't know anything or whatever. But anyway, I really want you to.
100%.
Yeah, man, of course. So the questions I'm going to ask is really just really for the audience, because I know a lot of people don't really understand the Rasta. They don't understand the spirituality. They don't understand the roots, the culture, the heritage, the tool of raga music to promote Rasta. They don't really understand a lot of things. So I think one of the first question I want to start off with, unless Sal already asked it, is in your definition, explain to the listeners, many of who don't really know much about Rastafarianism, what is Rasta? Like, what is Rasta?
Okay. Well, in my light preamble and first the banter we had, I kind of made some insertions about that. But I don't know if you can always put it in a simple term, but I was saying it's authentic. It is a need, a drive, a kind of a gathering within the spirit, within the psyche, within the physicality of Jamaicans first to have an authentic identity. We grew up as Judo-Christians in Jamaica, and even though we had the deep retentions from our ancestry, be they island ancestry, Taino like my own, or African ancestry, right? We had that. And we kind of have it like the colloquial and to the side or the foreground. To the fringe, rather. So Rastafari was the attempt and a kind of a deep desire to bring the truth, sift it through all these purviews we had, and bring it authentically in manifestation as the I and I, as the person, as the individual, the community, and the relations we hold to each other. So it's a drive towards authenticity, a movement towards being real, being true. And I must say also that, remember, Jamaicans, we are a former British colony, and we're still members of the Commonwealth. And as such, our political history for the since 1655 has been British. Before that, it was Spanish. But what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to give a foundation as to how our identity got warped the way it did, as to why Rastafari would have been a desire within a lot of Jamaicans for an identity that wasn't so tainted. The reason why we felt it was tainted was because it was basically fashioned by the same persons, right, who carried out a genocide upon our nations through, warfare, military warfare, and a complete enslavement of our peoples, right, and destroying our economic possibilities for hundreds of years. So we didn't really want to carry that identity. So it was then bubbling up in us from the time of even Alexander Bedford to redefine the view of Christianity, which was the predomination of religious thought. Not that there wasn't cultural thought spiritually, but it was suppressed. It was kind of hidden. And it was a thing we had to do as people under these European regimes. We had to mask whatever was there before the European times and kind of, mix it in, so to speak. So Rasta just wanted a true identity that wasn't really so mixed. So when there seems to be some form of contradiction in Rasta, it's because we're sifting through a lot of that, rubble.
Mm-hmm. All right. I did. It's okay. We'll probably get to Selassie and the meaning of dreadlocks, the promises of Marcus Garvey upon Jamaica during the time of trouble a little bit later on. I would also add my personal opinion to Rasta is I've always considered it a true ism, and I don't mean that in a negative way like alcoholism or masochism or racism. I'm talking about how there is a spirituality that is birthed in a culture, and it's culturally influenced. Like Rastafarianism is culturally influenced out of Jamaica, or Judaism is culturally influenced out of the Jews, right? Or even Buddhism or Hinduism culturally influenced out of Hindu. So it's sort of like this was originated by us in some ways, and it is maintained by us in some ways. So really, when you talk to pretty much any other islander, of which I am, right? My great-grandfather, he's from Chicago, but I was born, like you, in a British colony, which is still British, an island called Bermuda, right? So it's a British colony, British Commonwealth. But pretty much every island looks to and respects Jamaica because of reggae music and, of course, Rasta. No other island can say, Rasta started with us. Rasta started with Jamaica. In the same way, all of us, doesn't matter where we're from, all of us look to Mama Africa, and we respect Africa as our true home, right? So I would just want to add a little bit about that. So let's move on to Ital is vital. Tell the listeners from your perspective, what is Ital living, and how Rasta believe in eating good, healthy, natural foods to increase vitality of the human body. And if you can, maybe even mention maybe some similarities of Rasta's living Ital and how that compares to, say, the dietary law of Moses.
Okay. Well, I don't know if I do a lot of the deep Judaism studies, but what I can say about Rastafari and Ital, Ital really means having the foods in a natural order without any form of, what we call additives, right, or seasonings, or what we call artificial seasonings. So it's all natural, organic. But those terminologies have become political now, right? So first thing we need to understand, because it's about identity, people might think identity means that, I just wear some hair and I'm different. Well, we see a lot of clowns and puppets out there with hair. It don't make no difference. What makes a difference is that the Rastafarian identity is replete. It is complete. Most Europeans influence us into being meat eaters, right? And into eating a particular type of meat, or how it is that the island culture evolved with the assimilation of the European cultures, right? Rastafari was influenced by a lot of Hindus, right, that were in the inner cities where the Rastafari movement started in Kingston. So you see a lot of the Hindus, they are vegetarians, right? And they observe a strict dietary law too, based upon exactly the kind of, religious order they're in, or their caste, right? So Rastafari and the other ethnic groups like the Chinese and such, the Jews, they didn't necessarily take to us that much. So the Indians in Jamaica, because remember, we're out of many one people, our culture is diverse and it has been for a couple hundred of years, right? So the Indians really took us in and warmed up to the Jamaicans in the trenches, so to speak. And that bond taught them about, the Hindu culture, strict dietary law, veganism, vegetarianism. So Rasta couldn't come and say, I am a vegan, or I am a vegetarian, or whatever it was, because I have my own identity. I mean, language is semantical at times and we're not understanding, but you have to feel it. You have to feel what I'm saying, right? So I couldn't come and say that where you are saying, because I have my own identity. So Ital, I'm a vegetarian, and is not vegan. Is Ital, which is vital, because my existence is designed in conjunction with my thoughts, my identity, my ways of life. It all correlates. So it couldn't be something some guy give I. How could somebody give I identity, when the I is already I? So I have to discover I self. Not that I self last, but because I self has been covered by the ramifications, the whole degradation of chattel slavery. And, I mean, Americans, we say segregation, but we never go through no segregation. We go through this kind of what we call crown colony governmental system, you understand? Where England kind of implements some governor general system here. So that's where the Commonwealth evolved from, Because when people start defining themselves and say, yo, I know this, I know that, I know where you are say I is. So Rasta, the eating habits evolved from Rasta's view of themselves. You know, Rasta's view is nature, if people don't understand what that is. It doesn't mean something you went and planted yourself. Yes, there's farmers, and we're not these farmers, but nature was first, and that's what Rasta's view is. Existence, actuality of existence. Nature is life, and you have to honor the laws of nature. And eating things which can then self-produce after you have, you know, cultivated or harvest them is the law, because the truth is you cannot put back the life in an animal that you slaughter. There's nothing for you to do to keep that life going. It is ended for your consumption. But when you cut the vegetables, there's always the seeds. You know, there's always the suckers from the pine. You understand what I'm saying? There's a cycle that is eternal, that continues. So the seed does not get destroyed, right? So the seed continues. So life continues. There's no end to it. There's no need to make some kind of a sacrifice or a ritual to it. The only ritual we have to do is to observe the laws of nature. So Rastaman said natural, Ital. Ital is the way. It is vital. It is our actual existence, following nature in all of its seasons, right? The life in the animal is the life in I. That's where the I and the I come from. So the identity is not based upon an external observation only, but a deep internal connection, knowing that the source that is within I, that spirit that is manifesting as a human form, is the same spirit manifesting in our forms. So the Rastaman, when put that together now, within, let's get clear, within the linguistics of the English language, but also with the intent of the African mind, you know, because we can't forget the African mind. That's why the patois so strong. And when the Rastaman talk a different kind of a lingo, so to speak, right? Because he's even deconstructing the words, because he goes to the etymology to know, say, the words are part of the makeup of the individual. Say, if me is an Englishman and I talk certainly, oh, good afternoon, good. What is that? A man in the set. And that's what I mean. I say, coming out of that vernacular, I mean, of that linguistic. I mean, say, how could I be someone else? If you're telling me to be someone else, then that's warfare and enslavement in a whole new way. That's why last time I say, you know, freedom, free up, not freedom, but free up, you know, free up yourself, free up your mind means to release yourself from these conditionalities that's been placed on us, and we are, you know, taking onto them like they're actualities, when they are just the programming of oppressors.
Right. It's a form of kosher eating, you know, whether you're up on the law of Moses or not. I only mention that. Remember, I understand the listeners, you know, usually the listeners over here on this platform. So, like I mentioned, I'm gonna try to sway towards some of their understanding, but ultimately, Rasta is all about, it's all about eating natural, you know, living right, eating right, you know, what's good for food is good for the body. It's basically, it's in many ways, it's a form of eating kosher, right? All right, next one I want to ask you about is the flag. Tell us the significance of the flag, like what's the red, yellow, and green colors represent?
Oh, red, green, and gold.
Red, green, and gold, right?
One of the deep philosophies, right, within Rasta are the deep foundation stones within Rasta. Let me just, because it's so deep, and no one person can cover it. So sometimes you have to, I'm going to backtrack, go forward. You know what I mean? All right, so Rastafarianism, take off the ism, Rastafari is really modern Ethiopianism, right? That's all it is. It is a view on the retention of an identity that we feel that Shadow Slavery took from us, and we feel that identity is Ethiopian. You understand what I say? That's where the Haile Selassie come in. It's not just that it is like, oh, it's a religious iconography. No, it is historical. Because identity we are talking about, you know, it's not some fantasy we are talking about. Where we come from? The things that we are talking about, if we come out of an atom, this is not some metaphysics we're talking about. We're saying you took us from several places. You lied to us. The Europeans confused our realities. So we are saying Ethiopia. So Ethiopia is the bedrock, the foundation of Rastaman's self-image. That's why the Selassie coming. So a lot of what we're trying to achieve is kind of like parity with the Ethiopian culture, right? So the Rastaman energy, you know what I mean, is like trying to mirror an Ethiopian's energy, a certain religious culture, a certain spiritual tradition, respecting nature, respecting the environment, respecting individuals in the environment, having an identity that is harmonious with that, being an influence to those around us, because, Rastaman always says, have knowledge to teach, you understand, to bring a clarity, because most Rastafarians are the people who go towards information. It is so important because, again, the rejection of the European identity, it's like it's something inside of us. Bob Marley said something, maybe storing, it's a driving force inside. And once you begin to actualize it and you get more information, then your identity begins to become more congealed. Now, there's Rastaman who is deeply religious, right, which is maybe closer to the Christian ideology. There's Rastaman who is more Muslim-oriented, right? There's Rastaman who is more Judaic, right? And so what I find over the years of going through Rasta is understanding that each individual within the Rastafari movement, because of the drive towards authenticity, it's never been like a denominational kind of a body. There are many mansions, people would say, but, the older Rastas were, again, Pan-Africanists, right? And, nationalists, right? And also seeking for religious identity and religious freedom too, because, again, spirituality became religion to them because of who was in our reality. We kind of got shifted out of our thing. I don't know if we considered African evolution or indigenous evolution if we were talking about religion, but the fact is, Rasta saw that because of chattel slavery, a lot of our reality got shifted into religion, so they shifted it back into spirituality. So it is really about understanding oneself and the environment and being true to that, being true to the order within that.
Hey, I don't remember what the colors represent, and to be honest,
yes, okay. So the colors, obviously,
red, yellow, green.
As I say, is the Ethiopian flag. No, we don't say yellow.
Right.
We say red, green, and gold. No, because
gold,
the Ethiopian is, we say we treasure Ethiopia. All right. So they represent the chakras, right? There are three major chakras in the body, and it's the heart chakra, right, the solar plexus, and the root chakra, right? So red, heart, green, the solar plexus, and gold, the root chakra, which is where the genitals are and so forth, right? So you have the navel, the belly button, that's where you would have the green, which is really where the umbilical is, which is, what we call theoretically where it connects to life, where you connect to the cosmos, to life itself, to healing, the gut feeling, the emotion, the umbilical, and then the heart, you understand me? The red, you understand me? The emotional center, you understand me? If it's harmonious, there's peace in the body. If it's disharmonious, there's chaos in the being. So the colors have meaning as well as they represent the chakras. The colors also represent an essence of humility, seeking towards understanding, seeking towards keeping the cycle, because those three major chakras are really the chakras that are really, really associated with the life experience. The root chakra with progeny, the solar plexus, the umbilical, with the actual processing of the energy of life. That's where the stomach is, right? That's where food is processed, right? And then the heart, which is the circulatory organ within the being, which basically circulates the life blood, literally, of our being. Those three major chakras are what the colors represent in Rastafari. That's why wholesomeness of family ideas, Rastafari a lot of times, you have monogamous Rastafari, but you have polygamous Rastafari. So the family theme is very strong. You understand me? Rastafari believes in procreating, along your own, ethnicity. Although, again, it's vast now, so you have many different processes. But originally it was about uplifting your own self-identity and uplifting the identity of the princess, which is your African empress, so you call her the African daughter, the African queen, the black woman. So likewise, the colors represent the upliftment, not just of the individual, but also of the nation.
Right. I've heard over my years, I'm a 70s baby. I was born in 74. I've heard, and it's cool because there's nothing that's really written in stone, but I've heard different explanations of what red, gold, and green represents. I've heard it was the blood at one point. I've heard green was nature, and I don't remember what gold represented. But I've heard different. Yours is probably. I probably heard 3 different explanations of the flag. You know what I'm saying? But I think the one thing that is most certainly common and universal is Rasta's respect for Ethiopia. You see, because Ethiopia, I think, from what I can recall, originally was red and gold, and then green was added later. But definitely because of those colors, you can see Rasta's respect and its roots towards Ethiopia. That's actually paramount in Rasta ideology. So I definitely agree with that. And for the listeners, I only said that because I know, in the West, people can walk to malls or flea markets or see people with shirts, maybe Bob Marley or whatever, and some people just think it's art. Nah, man, it's like dreadlocks. Dreadlocks is not a hairstyle. Dreadlocks is roots. Dreadlocks looks like roots. It's a representation of Rasta. So, some cases you may see, like to the listeners, some cases you may see a lion in that picture. You want to tell them what the lion is? The lion with the crown, with the scepter, and the red, gold, and green flag. You want to tell them what the lion represents?
Well, it's definitely Ethiopian iconography, right? And it's also biblical, because remember, part of the Jamaican identity is being steeped in studying the Bible for the identity. So we study the Bible to find historic identity, as well as a spiritual and as a religious identity, as we were taught. So the Lion of Judah also represented by the flag, because it's a title that is given to the emperors, right, in Ethiopia, right? So conquering lion of the tribe of Judah. So the essence also was an old symbolism as being the head of nature, that the lion was the head of the jungle, or that kind of ideology spawned that the lion ruled over nature, and so the head. And in Rastafari, remember, authenticity was the case, right? So what the man would have said, the Australopithecus or the Australopithecine or whatever they want to say. You get what I'm saying, brother? Whatever we want to say, whether these arthropods, whatever it is that people want to say are the origins of species, whether you want to use this European hyperbole or whatever it is, Rastaman, I say, I and I are first. So the lion symbolizes, right, that the king of the jungle is head of everything, head of the family, head of the human family I'm talking, not just my family, but the head of the human family. And that symbolism of the lion is very deep in Rasta, because in Ethiopia, the emperor had a lot of lions, right? There's another thing to visually too. The emperor had a lot of lions. And, lions also in Ethiopia's history. There was an Ethiopian emperor that they said was an emperor that was dethroned and came down to reclaim his throne with 40 lions, riding a mystic black lion from out of the jungle high up. Yeah, these are in the Kebranigas, so, I mean, and again, I must say, I want to apologize again to people, a little disclaimer I said, because we're searching for identity. Lots of the Rastafarian pantheon view of its identities keeps changing, because as we get more educated in the actualities of things, we let go the belief systems, you understand? So the Rastafari view of the lion has evolved. I'm sure it has, because before, like I said, there was some mystic, connotations around it, more than just a pure symbolism of strength and the head of the human family. It's actually someone they say, I'm jumping on the pot. Some Rastaman usually say it's a lion, the crown, Selassie. You get what I say, brother? So it has this mystical element where a man say a lion, a Judah, it's like this is the power of nature, because a man say nature is the thing, You get it? It's nature.
Yeah, because that's
the symbolic. Yeah, the man is the lion and the lion is the man, because it's I and I. You get what I say? It's I and I. So the animal is I, and I is I. So it's all together is I and I. So it's life. But it's just I is the lion. The lion is I, and head of the human family.
And that's why I said I was a 70s baby, right? Because I already knew that there's some evolution of Rasta. Some things that I was raised around that I heard, it's those same things are not repeated. You know what I mean? So that's why I was excited to kind of have this conversation. Because for me, I already know what Rasta is. But a lot of things that I grew up around and surrounded by and was told, it's still there, but Rasta has evolved over the past, 40 plus years. So anyway, moving on, because we're talking about, before I actually move on, you've mentioned I and Iman and Ethiopia. Can you explain to the listeners what Rasta means when you say I or I and I? What does the I represent?
Well, Rasta tries to annihilate a European concept of this individual self. Because Rasta come out of the indigenous, the authentic being, that they never define themselves based upon their individual nature, which is something that was said to be separate from the individual nature of the next person, which is ludicrous. It's the same nature, it's human nature. So Rasta don't want no you and we and them and us, you understand? It's I and I. It's not to differentiate, to create a difference or a differential. People say, what is my identity? Identity is I. So why you can't say I? I, Jerome, I, Michael, I, G, and I, John. So why you can't say I? That's a big deal. It's the first person I think we're talking about. We're talking the great I am, which is the soul, which is replete with the divine nature, which is manifest as the whole away. That is the whole away, all of us. So if it's one source manifesting in all, Rasta says stop clear European separatism and start telling me about Jack and Michael and Wayne and Elizabeth. You understand me? Tell I about I and I, which takes away the differential of poverty and riches. You understand me? And the judgments of prejudice of color, class, and creed, and the skill or tone of your skin and the color of your eyes. He says I is the soul, referring to I, which is the soul. What you call you. Still I. Because I didn't know base. Yeah, maybe I can dance and maybe you can moonwalk and you want to define yourself as a moonwalker. But when the moonwalking is over and we meet where there's no more floating or gyrating, I still I and you still I. So we are try. You understand? Ego
right,
is for those who are intellectual in the Western world. It's an egoic conscience we are rejecting by the definition of you, us, and all that crap.
It's not you. You're that people. There's no you. There's no us. There's no me. It's just I.
There's no we. It's just I and I.
It's just I. So how many races is it? It's just one race, the human race. So that's the position of Rasta. And we're going to talk about racism and all of that too. I'm saving that for later. But since we're talking about Ethiopia, right, and you've kind of already shown Rasta's respect for Ethiopia, giving us a lot of information on that. But I'm going to lead into something from, again, because I got to pitch things based on the listening audience, things that they can probably gravitate to. As I see it, the root to Rasta's respect for Ethiopia, for example, the Holy Bible, Ethiopian pilgrims to the temple seen in the Old Testament and the New Testament. Of course, we don't see this until after Solomon and the beautiful black queen, right? The word Ethiopian in Scripture represents black people. The word Egyptian never represents black people. You see what I'm saying? And Rasta knows that Solomon was in love with a beautiful black woman. She called herself black and comely. Rasta knows this. Rasta has known this before certain, Western belief systems even existed. So Rasta knows that.
Taught that, yeah.
Right. Rasta knows that even the English word comely is typically used for women, Yes. So and we know that was a woman talking because she said, he kisses me with the kisses of his mouth. And I go into a king's bedroom. We know Solomon was no bati boy. Solomon was not gay. Rasta na promote no nasty man. We're going to get into homosexuality later on. Right? So Rasta na so in other words, Solomon was not gay. To say that Solomon was the one saying that I'm black and comely, that's making Solomon gay. So Rasta knows that Jesus called the queen of the south, right? South of Israel is Ethiopia.
Yes.
See? Yes. Rasta knows that the Book of Kings suggests that Solomon and this beautiful black queen had a son. Rasta knows that. Rasta knows that the Nagas talks about a son that Solomon and the queen had. I think his name was Menelik. Menelik, I think his name was. Menelik the first?
Yes,
the
Menelik,
first. Yeah,
yes,
Menelik the
Menelik,
first.
yes.
Right. So all of that leads up to who? Leads up to Selassie. Because Selassie was Ethiopian. And Selassie traced his lineage to Solomon and this beautiful black queen. So
and
this is...
Let me just put a little forward there. So, you know, a lot of people did not recognize that before we had this view that people said Selassie is God, what was most pleasing to us, the person who kind of popularized the Selassie iconography, Leonard P. Howell, right, was one of the first Rasta patriarchs, right, basically was trying to show the Rastafari, or the Howellites at the time in Jamaica, the Jamaican people, that there was a king in Africa and a queen, but you know, the machoism, the king, who that was going to be crowned, that would represent the rising of the ancient Black Empire. So there was an actual reason why we looked to Ethiopia, because even Marcus Garvey had said that to look to Africa for the coming of the Black King, and some people say the Black Christ, right? Because the essence of it was that this powerful man being crowned in such an ubiquitous empire that, you know, we always say never was conquered, never was colonized, it really sent shockwaves into the mindsets of progressive Jamaicans who knew their identity stretched further in time than the Europeans suggested. Remember, they told us we were slaves, you know. And to this day, such derogatory terminology and the ideologies around the human personage that has developed from that, the three-fifths human ideology crap, still causes psychological trauma on a lot of Jamaican males and females to this very day. It's some ingrained psychological torture. So you must understand how eager you were to get away from any kind of identity that the European has given us. So of course, Haile Selassie, I want to try to start something. They want to start me there. Is of course Empress Menen, because we need an identity that rose our consciousness out of a gutter slime crap and marginalization that European shadow slavery and colonialism and what you call it in America, segregation, had done to us. We need something. We had enough crack, we had enough music, and actually we had enough church too. We needed something. So Haile Selassie and Empress Menen was more than just a God figure to us. It was actually the reclamation of an identity, that you have a king there crowned and a queen there crowned to replace the personage in you, to make you know, say, listen, you have a king where black was down on a throne, you know. Remember, you got to look at where we were when the ideologies came out, when that way of life came up. Look at how we were, our state of consciousness as people in the 1930s. Remember, because that's when really Rastafari sparked up in Jamaica. The Howellites were a little bit before that, and from the Howellites sparked the Garveyites, you know, because Garvey is called Moses, because Moses was said to be the one that, you know, was to point on the promised land. That's why they call Marcus a black prophet, because he was the one that was carving for Jamaican, not just an identity, you know, but a way in which to express the identity. So, you know, say, the word thinks us as pompous. Not pompous in the European sense, you know, because when you're European and you act this with them, say you're pompous. You know, it's arrogance, right? Like we're arrogant, we're aggressive. Right? Yeah. Yeah, but it's pompous, not so much trying to say, no. You know why? But them covered it and call us arrogant, or like aggressive. Well, no, but them trying to say we're pompous, we're full of ourselves. You know why? Because the Jamaicans, when we study the English vernacular and study their books, right, we realize that they lied to us, and we realize that human, regardless of color, was divine. And we just wanted a chance. I would make a chance to create that for ourselves. And that's what it's about. And it's still been that way. I no longer stick to the original views of Rastafari I used to have, because, you know, I've evolved into straight follower of Christ. But the thing is, my faith is in Christ, but my culture is Rastafari, because I can't change that, because I say it all the time on my channel, there's no way I want a European identity, so they're going to try that. Not even because I say I follow Yahshua, and I'm not playing with nobody telling me about no identity based upon, you know, no modern place where we've evolved to, because lots of black folks think we were literally like, you know, stupefied people, like uneducated people. They thought we had no culture. They literally thought we had no civilizations. They thought we had nothing. So we had to fight to remove that, you know, negative imagery. And to this day, they're still speaking racist over us and talking about that. They're talking about Jamaicans, like, oh, Jamaicans are scammers, Jamaicans are this. And we know it's still racism because we're still here studying about life. And we're still learning that you're not going to get away with what you've done to us as a people. And if it's only our identity we can carve from this reality, we take it. You can take materialistic definitions of self, fine. But we will not allow you to tell us how we should appear, how we should think. And first of all, you can't tell us what to chat. You can't tell us what to express. These things are steeped in Rastafari having its own lexicon. Not just patois, but a Rastafarian Ital, Ital. And that's how I say Iser. Own lexicon connected to the lifestyle. Bless up the Emperor and the Empress of Ethiopia. Haile Selassie is celebrated, because we say in the present, we're not talking about death. So Haile Selassie will celebrate in the earthly sense is 127 earth strong 2 days ago. So, you know, for Rastafari, yeah, they are Haile Selassie as the kings, and the women are Empress many. So there's no death, you know, because remember it says I and I, so it's still I. I still Haile Selassie, and so it's I.
All right. Hey, Jerome, how are you for time? Sal was
I got
me
about maybe like 20, 25 minutes with you guys. But, you know, is Travis still there? I want to hear Travis. I'm going to hear Travis. I said, Travis, what you have to say?
That's what I was going to say. Sal, I don't know if you want to open the lines for a bit or what.
Yeah, it is press number 1. Once again, family, the number is 319-527-6239. Any questions or comments, feel free to press number 1 and we'll add you in the conversation. Let's go to 786, you're live.
God bless. I'm still here. It's a great conversation. I met Jerome through YouTube, and, you know, even though I saw what my eyes saw was a Rasta man, but I knew and I just felt innately it was a Christ on the inside. It was Christ inside of him, speaking through him. And long story short, contacted him, and it's been great vibes, great alignment ever since. So it was through him actually that I seen the two, what seemed like dichotomies come together. Because I was like, Rastaman Jesus, Rastaman Yeshua, because I know that sometimes those two camps, you know, bust shots at each other. But I began to realize in the study, they're all one. It's all I. You know, just like how we have extremists in Christianity, we got extremists in Rastafari, in every culture, religion. But I would consider myself a Rastafari as well. Even though, you know, I can put myself on blast, I'm not eating Ital. I know I should be. If I was, my health would be better. If I was, I would be much slimmer as I'm supposed to be. Currently growing out my hair now. I'm going to lock it up soon. And, yeah, I'm definitely embracing that side. So I'm glad to see Jerome on the international scene and you guys opening up that opportunity and taking it from there. And if possible, I would definitely like him to speak about the hair and really break down the look and the spiritual and the metaphysical about that, because my hair has always held significance. And I know that locking is for me. I can't speak for nobody else. So I would definitely like him to talk about the hair, and also as you guys can chime in as well, and what's your experience with the hair, spiritual, and all of that.
Bless up to that, Travis, every time. Well, you know, first of all, when we say it was an identity thing, well, usually if you look across at the European imagery, right, you know, they got their hair limp, right, and we would say it's 6 degree, you know, it has it's 6 ether air, and we are 9 ether, right? So it means magnetically, people don't take this wrong way, so just stay with us, stay with me on this one. It means that if it's 6 ether, the amount of electrical impulses and vibration it can pick up is basically on a certain measure. It's on a certain frequency, a certain wavelength, right? When it's 9 ether, let's just use the word universal, cosmic, you have the whole spectrum. Now, when you put a 6 ether meditation into a 9 ether body, what you do? You'll cause the young ladies to do what, brother? Straighten out their hair. Still with me? Feeling me? You cause brothers to do what? Coon themselves, right? You with me? You cause brothers to cut their hair off. And what are you causing to happen? Because that's a 6 ether energy in a 9 ether body. That consciousness ain't right. It ain't right for us. When people talk about philosophy, they say melanated. You can use words, but it's still the same. That mind can't work in my reality. So, First of all, the image of the slave is got to be cut and groomed, got to be clean, got to be clean. You know why it's got to be clean? Because 6 ether man don't like 9 ether man growing his hair. Because when 9 ether man begins to pick up the electrical impulses from the cosmic, what begins to happen? He begins to find the eye. And why those 6 ether men don't want him to find the eye? Because if he finds the eye, then he can go beyond the work world of his oppression. Because remember, they extract energy from us based upon the conditions they put us in, brother. You get what I'm saying? And they've been battering us. But when the Rastaman coming out of all that colonialism could look into the eye and find the eye, the air, the 9 ether, lock it up. It grows from the root. It picks up the energy. You start feel things. Because true, we don't deal with spiritism. We don't want to go to a mile and call up the dead ancestors. So guess what we say? We say all energy, all vibration permeates what? Permeates the cosmic. So you might say it happened 10,000 years ago. Who's counting, by the way? You counting? I ain't counting. But we say, if you encounter truth, does it matter if it was 20,000 years ago? So we say, when you meds, right, you burn your marijuana and you begin to go into the eye, the inner eye. The electrical vibrations picking up the experiences, the information of the cosmic. Things that you and I have said, things that others have said a month ago, a year ago, thoughts that was expressed 20,000 years ago. As far back as time goes, the Rastaman goes into the meds and start increase the cosmic awareness. The locks is the antenna. Get where that come from? You know why antenna? Because it's electrical impulse that's being picked up. So we say we know we are radio waves before people talk about telepathic and it's telekinetic. You know, we're saying it's radio waves, electrical waves, and the vibration. We are that, and that is what the air is about. When it's natural, you can actually pick it up and translate it, transmute it, if you want to talk to metaphysicians. You can transmute it into actual consciousness or clarity. You know what I mean? I say, put it the next way. We say, we'll pick up the vibe. We are meds, and we'll feel like say, I to go. Mean it's going to actualize this, it's going to happen this way. And we act on that first impulse because we know it's not just some hyperbole or conjecture. It's actuality. So the Rastaman know that when your ear is natural, you're more sensitive. You feel things, you understand me? You feel the subtle frequencies that is not easily picked up. And that is what 6 ether man don't want you to do, or 6 ether woman don't want 9 ether woman to do. So 9 ether woman, I hope if you're listening, with your kind role here, the true Jew of Judaism, I want to say to you, please, don't take this thing to be some kind of a joke, internal little spasm of thoughts. No, it isn't. It's actually the actual nature. We are from nature. And if you don't respect nature, you won't respect yourself. If you alter which is natural and godly, how can you have the power thereof? It will make sense when you stop taking the toxins and the chemicals into your body. First thing, everything goes through the outer into the inner. That means that if you put it in your hair, it goes into you just the same. Why do we think our hair is our next level, are separate from us? Why do we think that? So ladies in particular, you got to be very careful. The man, they're more recognizing now because maybe to them it's fashion. So I said, brothers in America, brothers across the world who think it's fashion. Yes, it is fashionable to like the appearance, but please get the knowledge thereof. Get the knowledge thereof. And the Spirit is telling me to tell you, stop putting those crack-ass dye in your hair. It's dangerous, brothers and sisters. You got some brothers and sisters, they did their hair natural. And guess what they did? And they crazy with it. Go put some dye in their hair. What are you trying to highlight? Trying to go golden? It's dangerous. It's chemicalized. It's going to cut the authentic vibration. You know why they make it? Who made it? You think it's 9 ether? It's 6 ether men and women that make that to confuse you again. You understand? So you got to be very careful. When you have your natural locks, don't dye it. Don't put any kind of nothing. And don't go to the salon too often to do it. Notice salon people, I didn't put no fire on you. I didn't say don't go at all. I said don't go so often. Because it's a personal connection with you and your hair. It's just like anything in life. It's intimate. You should grow your hair covered. Amen to that. You should grow your hair covered. That's very important. The hair must be covered, especially when you're just locking your hair. Why should it be covered? I just told you. You pick up electrical vibrations. So what does that mean? It means lots of times you're around people who got bad thoughts, bad vibrations projected at your life, at you, and you didn't hear them say crap. but they were thinking it, and they were expressing it when you're not there. But when you go there, you're Rasta, we pick up the vibes, you understand? We pick up the vibration, we sense it, we're sensitive that way. So those things are part of the gift which you're here, you understand me? So you got to keep yourself natural and remember that the cosmic laws still apply this day in life. Don't become ideological and lose nature, because that's what they're killing us with fear is, right? And then when you look in the mirror, you look like something that somebody drew on some cartoon series, and you're trying to tell me that you're authentic. Come on. There's 100 archetypes of you out there running around, moonwalking across the void, thinking that they're special. You see, so the authentic, very important. The here, one of the most important part of your authentic life. Stop putting animal products on your body, especially soaps and stuff and hygiene products made from animal DNA, because just telling you people, whether you want to be ideological or not, the animal DNA that is also injected with all manner of gene splicing and GMO manipulated splicing. You got so much words for it, my God, it's sweating my head, but you know what I mean. Too much hormones into the animal, and then that stuff is coming into you. So you're absorbing all that into the bodies, right? So that is very important. So people might say, well, I don't eat this, well, you don't eat that, but you wash your hair with it, see? That's what I'm talking about. So we're not talking about I'm vegan, you got a fashion statement, right? But that ain't mean nothing to me, because what I'm saying is, you got to stop using the products. You got to stop living for the Joneses because somebody advertised it on TV. It's called psychology. They're playing you. So they ain't going to tell you a lot about Rasta. You know why? We're too real for them. No, they tell you about some puppet that has dreadlocks that was moonwalk across the stage. No pun intended. I like the word moonwalk because people can relate to it. You know what I mean? They're clowning around. They like clowns, period. So they always promote clowns. It's just a thing. So when you need authentic examples of things, you got to go more to the quieter people. The Rastafari, who's literally not the guy who's promoting himself on the front of the street. He's just a person quietly at the back somewhere, tending to the garden, literally, right? Or reading his Bible, or reading some holy book. And maybe it's not Bible-oriented, but maybe it's postmodern or whatever. But he'll be the person with humility, but wisdom, because sometimes we all can chat. That's a fact you need to know about Rasta too. I know some of you out there scratching your head. Yeah, don't go on the Rasta thinking that you can have no 5-minute sentence. You better listen. A lot of stuff in the Rasta's head, okay? Don't ask them no questions. Came prepared for an answer that's going to be long.
but you know what? Let me say this. This is Travis L. When I came into an alignment and deconstruction started happening, deprogramming started happening in my mind, in my consciousness, I am believing Jah for a queen, for a wife. And let me tell you something. I'm black, by the way, if you can't already tell. I am not attracted, and this is something that I really just came into reality with. I'm not attracted to a woman that is not natural. And when I say natural, of course, I'm speaking about their hair and, someone that is really comfortable in her own skin, little to no makeup. Because there's just something in me, something in my soul that has awakened that says, son, you have to go with the natural beauty. And I'm not going to lie. When I see these women, when I see my sisters with these weaves down their back and this and that, it's so unnatural to me. And this may sound funny, but it is very scary. I get scared. And one of the reasons why is because I know that there is a spirit that is manifesting inside of them that's causing them to look that way.
Mm-hmm.
Without getting too deep, all of this stuff, with the colored hair and the dye and everything, that stuff is manifesting from another realm, from the marine kingdom and all those different type of things, because those entities look like that. So they're always looking a way to enter into the realm by using you, the human, the body, and have you piercing and doing all of this stuff. That stuff is scary to me. So I'm a 9 Ether man, so I'm after a 9 Ether woman. It's just something in me that won't let me go. That's that you can't desire that. You can't be around that. So, if you're on on a journey of consciousness, it's a lonely journey. You're gonna cry some days because you feel alone. You feel like there's nobody around you. You don't have a lot of conscious people around you, and especially when you're in corporate setting and you work. Right now, I'm going to work now. I work at the airport. There's a whole bunch of 6 ether man over here. You know what I'm saying? Jerome could tell you.
Sure.
I had this gonna be my third or fourth block. Because every time I grow my locks, it's going good. Then something happens, my emotions get all mixed up, and then I want to cut my hair. You see? And I know
picking up all the vibrations, man.
Picking up all the vibration, and I'm around all these computers. This is why I do not come to work without a crystal on, without some kind of crystal on my body to kind of protect me from those waves. And this is one of the reasons why I'm growing locks, is for that protection, and it goes along with something else I've seen in a dream. So it's some kind of covenant going on there. But we have to protect ourselves. We have to really go back to nature as much as possible. All of us won't get the opportunity to escape to the mountains and so forth. So we got to be practical, but we've got to go back as much as possible and stay in that alignment, stay in that frequency, meditate, read, educate ourselves. And if we have children, educate them too, and just stick with those, call family, those who are doing the will of the Father in heaven. That's your family. That ain't mother, father, this and that. That's whoever is doing the will and the work of the preservation of the planet and the work of the preservation of the people. And that's all I got to say tonight.
Blessings, brother. Because see, that is social justice, and that's one of the things Rasta stands for. So we have to, as we're speaking about it, I know that it's vast, and I cannot speak everything possible around the Rastafari movement and the consciousness. But I would say Rastas are very strong on the point of view of social justice, right? So they be working in every kind of civic organization, right? And even in collaboration with NGOs and governmental organizations, and also, their own, innate, groupings and, cultural organizations. So Rasta always would say, it's a nation. We are within a nation, because the fact is, how we are is far beyond what we are. And so that's why we evolve, because it's the how that's evolving. We're not the what, like materialists. We're the function. We're the how. And so as we're evolving, we're recognizing that there must be greater social justice. There must be greater clarities on identity and how that applies to the entire space. If we're going to talk about the democratization of information, the democratization of experience, right? Everybody's got a say. We, Rastafari, in that democratization of experience, want to authentically express ourselves, and I want to say it this way, as we are, not to what the minders and the handlers are saying to us. Because I would say this, frankly, when the minders come, they got a good argument, and they tell us, especially when we're artists, I can get you into the market that you need to get, to be able to survive. We can get you into that market, and 9 times out of 10, that market is European. So European-minded minders and handlers are directing you towards using your efforts to fulfill something that intrinsically you don't want to fulfill, because that's not the way we are. So we do want to authentically express within the space of the global experience. I don't know if people in the world, sometimes if they like too much of what is watered down, right? I believe they call it fake in this age, but I don't want to say fake totally, because we're not trying to call people fake. What we're saying is that people are watered down. What is watered down? They got all the substance beneath, and all they're doing is putting this, thing on top that's just not mixing, and it's diluting what is actually there. So that's what's happening in life, and Rasta is saying, stop that. We don't want to be diluted, because we're not asking for acceptance. Why are we playing this game like it's acceptance? We're not asking for acceptance. We're saying, in the global space, we want to express as we are. So please, European minders, stop channeling our cultural expression into a product and a service that suits an 6-ether market. Pigeonholing us, what do you call it again? Use a big word, marginalization. Some form of art appropriation of culture. I believe Bob Marley called him vulture. Culture, vulture. We got to be careful with that, because that's also causing people to lose. Just as the world is looking at the identity of Rastafari, the identity is being watered down by these dreadlock Soho brothers and sisters. You understand? There's something that I know I can't not speak for Rastafari and not mention that because it's hurting the Rastafari identity. And I want to speak it one more way too. There's some people use the Rastafari iconography to identify with Jamaica. And when I say iconography, sometimes I'm being a little forward. I mean Rastaman image, him himself, not just the red, green, and gold, because that can say to be Ethiopian, it can say to be universal, but they are using the Rastaman, the Rasta woman. Sorry, I'm using the word iconography because I want to say it that way. Iconography to promote loot.
Oh,
Sal,
you
there?
lost them. His call dropped. Yeah, I guess the 30 minutes was up. Oh, man.
Right.
You know, you got to bring him back on. That.
Yeah, I tell you, he's a talker. You got a talker there.
Yeah, but we do have people standing by, though. We do have people standing by that have questions, but message of the truth, you're also an expert in this area. You know what I mean? Maybe you can.
I could try and I'll give you my feedback first a little bit. He remember I'm a different generation. I'm obviously older than him. You know, I've heard things different from him, like the question he was last asked about. Is the other guy still on? His brethren? What's his name?
Yeah, he's still 786.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, man, I'm still here. I put my phone on mute.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, Jerome, he was on a calling card, so it probably ran out. That's why he dropped. But when the brethren asked about, you know, dreadlocks and stuff like that, you know, I'm hearing everything Jerome is saying, but for me and my generation, it's real simple. It's not complicated at all. When I look at a monk whose head is shaved and he's wearing the garbs, you know that's a monk, right? It ain't no mistaking it. In old times, Christians used to wear a cross around their neck. There's no mistaking it back then. Nowadays, anybody wears a cross. Porn stars wear crosses. Murderers wear crosses. But back then, it used to be a symbolism of who was a Christian. So for Rasta's dreadlocks are his identity. If you put in your head the image of dreadlocks of true Rasta, old school Rasta, their dreads don't look like a hairstyle. Their dreads look almost as if they're dirty. And if you think about it, what do dreads look like? They look like roots. You see, because it represents their roots and their culture. So when you look at real dreads from Rasta, not talking about the hairstyle you see in America, which was adopted from Rasta, but when you look at real Rasta, they don't manage their dreads at, you know, hair clinics and hair salons. They just lock it up and they let it go natural. They let it go natural because they don't really care about pleasing the corporate world or Babylon. It's just it's roots. When you look at dreads, the first thing that you can imagine is dreads. It is roots, sorry. That is their roots. That is their culture. That is their identity. So when I was growing up, you see a guy with dreads, you knew he was Rasta. Anybody who had dreads that was not Rasta, we called them imitation Rasta. Or Guan, dready Guan. In other words, go away, you fake Rasta. So for me, I lived, you know what I mean? I lived through the generation where dreads started to come to America in the early 90s. And I didn't like it. A lot of Rasta didn't like it. A lot of conscious youths. We are conscious youths. Before this conscious movement in New York started, like guys who were just conscious, they didn't like dreads coming to America because it represents Rasta. So we felt it was a misrepresentation of Rasta, right? Because it's your identity. So that would have been my answer as far as, you know, locking up. It's your identity to Rasta. It's roots. Go ahead, Sal.
Jerome Sage Butler called this drop at 786. I forgot your name, brother. What's your name again?
Travis L.
Travis, right.
Travis. Yeah, would you mind staying with us for a little bit? Because I got people that will ask some more. They want to ask some more questions on the line. Maybe you could give some clarity. It's up to you. You know, I know that you randomly called in, but if you want to help with some of the questions, that'll be fine, man.
Yeah, no problem. You know, some of my knowledge is limited, but I believe I definitely could be of some assistance. I'll be here.
All right, man. Appreciate you, man. No doubt. Let's go down the line. Let's go to 716-541. You're live.
Thank you, Sal, for taking my call. This is Sister Doris. I had 3 questions and 1 comment. Now, my first question is, it was told to me that the Ethiopians say that they have the Ark of the Covenant. That's one question. And I would like to know, which branch does Rasta stem from? Is it Cush, Put, or Mizraim? And the third one is, I want to know what blood clot means. And the last comment I would like to make is, according to the Bible, that the woman's hair is her glory. You know what I mean? No matter if it's 1 inch or 13 or 12, that her hair is her glory, according to the Bible. And I'm not saying this to be confrontational, because after I say this, I'm going to press 1 and take myself out of the queue.
Hey, guess what? Travis is back, y'all. Travis is back. He said he only got 3 minutes, though, so did you hear his the questions?
Travis is back, or Jerome is back?
I mean, Jerome, I'm sorry. Jerome, you're back.
Okay.
Can you hear me, Jerome?
Okay, cool.
Yeah, Jerome.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, man, I'm here.
Yeah,
man, I just want to say blessings. Yeah, I just want to say blessings, brother. Respect, Sal. And remember your name again, brother? Your host tonight?
Sal.
Messenger of Truth. Messenger of Truth.
Who, me?
Yeah, Messenger of Truth. Yeah.
Yes.
You wanted to know about who you were.
Yeah. Messenger is cool.
Blessings, brother. Respect. Love the knowledge, love the information, love the sharing. Sal, we're going to do this again another time. I'll prep for it better, get a better card, and we sort that out. And respect Travis, respect every time. And I want to say to that brother, it's the Cushite branch. That's what we go forward. And a woman's crown, a woman's glory, yeah. But how can it be your crown if it's artificial when there's a natural crown? Crown and all of that comes from the actuality of things. It's your hair. So the crown usually be that they used to even fashion the hair into a crown, literally, because it's 9 ether hair. We don't got to fake. Blessings and respect, you know what I mean? Another time we carry forward.
All right, respect. Good speaking with you.
Yeah.
She asked 3 things. He already answered the Cushite. She said the women's hair is her glory. Actually, I think what she's talking about is what Paul was talking about, as far as women should be dressed moderately and they should cover themselves. So basically he was saying a woman's hair is her covering. In other words, if you think about a woman with long hair, if their breasts are exposed, so their hair is really long, if their body is exposed, and their hair is their covering. So that is their glory, sort of like how Solomon said an old man's gray hair is his glory, because that's where we get the saying, our wisdom, our gray hairs represent our wisdom. And Solomon said that the glory of a young man is his strength. So a woman's pride in those days was her hair, because they were to be modest in apparel and stuff like that, so their hair was their covering. I don't remember what the third one was. I heard the Cushite and the women's, but I didn't catch I don't remember the third one.
It was a Jamaican bad word. It usually refers to, in the derogatory sense, woman's, what they call a hygiene product, right? So it's like a derogatory comment. Yes, that BBC Jamaican word, So it usually was a way we used to kind of curse, negative.
Blood clot.
But we also use it for like exuberance, and Peter should say a word of power, and then would I say later on, them say, King Bomba of it's the name of an African
Bomba clot.
Yeah. So in Jamaica, it's a bad word.
Right. Well, in Jamaica, right. So that's the thing with islanders, right? So if you say, I don't really want to say it on the air, but if you say bleep out your mama, some islanders they want to chop your head off for that, depending on where you're from. Where I'm from, that don't mean nothing. Right. You're saying that don't mean nothing to me. Or if you say blood clot to me, I'm hearing blood clot. like, you got a clot in your leg or a clot in your lungs. That's not a cuss word at all. That's not profanity at all in my culture, even though I'm Islander. So you see, there are different things from islands to islands. Like, blood clot is a bad word in Jamaica. I wouldn't even be saying it if I felt it was a blood clot. I mean, if I felt it was a cuss word or negative connotation in my culture. You see what I'm saying? So my conscience is innocent because my conscience is not offended. You see what I'm saying? So it's a little different between Jamaica and some other countries.
And Jamaicans listening right now would think it's strange if I would say it. You get it?
Right.
So even though it's a cultural thing, they would think it's strange. Now, if an American hears me, they don't think anything of it. But Jamaicans listening would think it's an offense, so I wouldn't say it. I would repeat what he said, but I know what he did. But it's a thing about Jamaican culture. Most of the curse words revolve around women because it's the way they taught us to view women in a negative and derogatory way. So most of our curse words, our way of kind of sticking it to someone, it relates to a woman, right? So you can do a little research on that.
Hey, how much time you got, Jerome?
Okay, this is about my last minute, brother, so I'm going to say,
okay.
I said September again, dress up yourselves, take care, you don't know, just keep the information going forward, keep overstanding Rastafari.
Yeah, my respect.
Problem, man. We bring it
I
back
don't
to
say understanding, I wouldn't like the understand, so I'm wait to the end of the show to say it, overstand Rastafari.
Yeah. All right, man. Hey, we appreciate you, man. We'll bring it back on September, all right? Take care, man.
There's a lot of things I actually wanted to go into with him. I wanted to go into Rasta's perspective on governmental education, slave mentality, and racism. We kind of touched on some of these things anyway. We were starting to deal with the adaptations of, I would say, Black America. Like, we were dealing with the dreadlocks being adopted as a hairstyle. And again, with my generation, that was offensive to us because it felt like it was a misrepresentation of Rasta. But you have people like Junior Gong, Damian Marley, who's Bob Marley's son, when he was asked the question, like, hey, how do you feel about, American other cultures adopting things from Rasta, adopting things from Jamaican culture? He said something about, it's the greatest form of flattery when somebody, adopts from you. But for me, I don't look at it that way. I'm no older than Junior Gong. So I look at things as piracy because if you pirate something, you don't give respect to where you get it from. It's like plagiarism. A certain rabbi on the show who's plagiarism almost 70% of his books, you can go to jail for that. You can get kicked out of school for that. So piracy is the same way when you adopt something from someone and you don't even turn around and acknowledge where you got it from. That's piracy. So I wanted to hear from him how far his perceptions on the adaptations and adoptions of Black America, like the dress code, the dance moves, the dreadlocks, things like that. But, we couldn't really get into that. I wanted to talk to him about homosexuality as well, and, of course, herb. Some Rastas smoke weed, some Rastas don't. You know what I'm saying? So couldn't really get into all of that because we didn't really have the time, but I think it was pretty good still.
Yeah. By the way, Messenger, I got one more caller right now, and I spoke to him behind the scenes. His name is Brian. I think he wants to ask you something. 403, you're live. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you very much. Hi. Yeah, I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions. Unfortunately, the other gentleman had to go, but since you're in the movement, you probably know most of the answer to most of these. Now, the word Rastafari, what does it mean?
I'm not in.
What language is it?
I'm not in the movement. I don't want anyone. Everyone who knows me knows I'm not a Rasta. It's just I was born around the culture. So Sal asked me to co-host. Okay. I'm not. Okay. Yeah, I'm not actually the guest. I'm the co-host. But just to make that clear.
Okay.
And actually, some of those questions were answered earlier too in the show. But I think my brother Travis, Travis, I think he could answer that. Go ahead, Travis. You can try to answer that.
Travis.
Are you there?
Yeah, sir.
Are you there, Travis?
Yeah, sir. If I missed that.
No,
I'm sorry. I have my line muted, y'all. You hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you now. I can hear you.
Okay.
Now.
If I'm not mistaken, because I'm not Rastafari either, like I said, I've been around it. It was two words, Ras, R-A-S, and then Tafari. If I'm not mistaken, that is a type of title, some kind of military title. So that's really the meaning of Ras, Tafari, and then then we have Rastafari. Those who follow his teaching, those who are followers. So they just call themselves Rastafari or Rasta.
Okay. Now I thought it was Haile Selassie's non-regal name or something like that. But anyway, just going on then, if you know about this, these other questions, at some point, the Jamaican Rasta elevated Haile Selassie to being, as it were, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, and as a reincarnation of Messiah, as I understand it, and just going by things that I remember reading years and years ago. Now, since his death, I think he was assassinated in the 1970s. Since his death, is there a new person that has taken his place in the Rasta mind?
No. No, he's not. It's still Selassie. You can hear it even in reggae music. It's Jah Rastafari, Selassie I the First. That's who they still pay homage to. As far as his death, some Rastas will deny that. Tonight we heard Jerome say, Rasta don't die because it's I and I and I. It's all of us. Rasta lives through us. He said that earlier tonight. It was 1992, because I graduated from high school in 1991. In 1992, that's when the news source came out saying they found his body, blah, 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 blah. And I think the year 2000 is when they had the burial ceremony for Selassie I. But no, he has not been replaced in any form. It's still, they still consider him His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I the First. They still do consider him, many still do, the Lion of Judah. As Jerome was saying, there were some who were very spiritual. He said there were some Muslim-centric Rasta, there were some Christian-centered Rasta, and then a third one, I don't remember what he said, but as far as Haile Selassie I, which means power of the Trinity, no, he has not been replaced by anything else.
Okay. Now, what about this business of, I know that some Eastern churches, I don't know if this was Ethiopian churches or not, but you know how in many ritualistic churches there is incense. I know that there are some of the smaller Eastern Rite churches where the incense is actually marijuana. The smoke is marijuana, not for example, in the Roman Catholic Church, it's some other type of incense, but in some Eastern churches, it's marijuana. Now, I'm wondering, in Rasta belief, is marijuana a part of the belief structure, or the belief, as part of the ritual, or part of the Rasta idea?
Well, again, Jerome would have to answer that, but I can tell you from my understanding in my generation,
I could
basically some Rasta say they smoke herb or marijuana or ganja for meditation. That's how it generally was the excuse for using it. One of the things that Rasta has said, in fact, it's not even just Rasta, it's really the reggae culture overall, whether they're Rasta or not. Some people believe that herb was found in King Solomon's grave. I wouldn't have tried to challenge anything that Jerome was saying tonight because I'm not his opponent. I'm actually co-host. But if I were having some sort of dialogue or debate about it, I would first say that Solomon's grave was never found. His body certainly was never recovered. And with Israel's burial rituals, they often spice the body with herbs, sweet-smelling herbs and incense oils. That's because when somebody dies, obviously they start to stink. So even if Solomon was found, and even if there were herbs in his tomb, it doesn't necessarily mean it was marijuana. You see, marijuana is not in itself as a leaf. It's not like, say, rose petals or whatever. It doesn't give out that type of fragrance or fragrance, I should say. So that's why not every Rasta smokes herb. Some Rastas literally would tell you they don't smoke weed. But then others, I personally believe, they're abusing marijuana. It's drug use. The scriptures call that sorcery. It's drug use. It's drug abuse. And so other Rastas, they're literally convinced they just smoke the herb for meditation. Higher heights is what they call it, meaning higher heights. So, but that's why they say get high, so high, reaching higher heights. And they believe that causes them to meditate or be more focused in their spirituality and their humanity, or as Jerome was saying, with their energy. So that's really the sum of the reasons why some Rasta smoke weed, smoke herb.
All right, family, we're going to pretty much wrap this up. Again, I'm speaking to Jerome in the background.
Well, Travis,
and you said,
Travis wanted to say something.
Yeah, Travis, go ahead, man. Sorry about that. Yeah, you can expound.
Yes. I'm just going to agree with what you're saying. Some use it for as a holy sacrament during times of fellowship, prayer, meditation. It's not necessarily something that you use like we would use it in the hood, you know what I'm saying? Just trying to smoke, just trying to be cool or a gangster or whatever. It was definitely more of from a spiritual standpoint, and of course has major health benefits, whether you steam it or bake it or put it in teas. But that's my understanding. It was definitely used for that purpose. And like the teacher just said, every Rastafarian does not smoke weed, so it's not something that is mandatory per se, although it may be synonymous, and that's really only because of culture and TV. But it is not something that is mandatory. Like, okay, if you're a Rasta, you got to smoke marijuana. Not so.
Right. There's an old
You
dread.
gotta get Jerome back, man. You got to get Jerome back in September. You know what he said? He said, yes, I.
Yes,
I. So you're going to bring him back on, man. But Travis, any last words, my brother? I appreciate you for staying on with us. I know you called in randomly, and we kept you on for a little while, but we appreciate the input. Any last words?
Yes. I want everyone to be blessed. Continue to educate yourself. Continue to meditate. Continue to do unto others as you would like done unto you. Continue to speak those things that you want, even though they're not, they shall manifest. Continue to declare over yourself through your affirmations, your morning affirmations. Write out what it is you desire to see. Begin to allow that God consciousness, that God spirit, that God spark to come up within you. Allow that activation to take place. Change the world around you by first changing you.
We appreciate you, fam. I Mr. The Truth. Any last words? Take us out.
Yeah, of course. Well, thanks a lot, Sal. I mean, it's again means a lot to me that you even asked. Not simply because you asked, like I need some platform or something like that, but simply because it's telling me that you trust me enough that you would, trust me with your baby to co-host, not to run your guest away or frighten them away or whatever. That's respect. That means a lot to me on a man-to-man level. I enjoyed it because I don't really get to talk to too many islanders too often these days, least of all Rasta. Heard some things. So Jerome is definitely a talker, and that's cool. A lot of Rastas that I know, they're really not. I mean, they talk for a bit, but then that's it. I expected to hear some differences from some things that I grew up on, and I did, because even as he said, Rasta has evolved. And I know that. I knew that. I knew that I've lived through a generation that he did not live through. He knows about, but he didn't live through it. So I experienced some stuff that he hasn't yet experienced, and he's experiencing things that I'll never experience. So I actually appreciated having a conversation with the brethren. For people who may be wondering, why is Messenger of Truth doing this sort of show? No, I am not Rasta. No, I am not promoting Rasta. I respect Rastafarianism. I respect Rastafarianism because of its lack of racism, its respect for Mother Earth, its high spirituality. I mean, reggae music is, next to gospel, it is some of the most conscious, most spiritual music on this planet. It is some of the most uplifting and encouraging music on this planet, from all the way back to Bob Marley, all the way up to young artists today like Chronix. Again, I'm not Rasta. I don't promote any other God other than the God of the Bible and his Christ. Nothing else. I'm not here to promote any sort of God or idol, none of that. But I do respect Rasta because of its moral stance, the way they eat, the way they respect nature, the way they respect the race, which is, they don't say there's many races of mankind. They say there's one race, the human race. How are you going to hate on such positive outlooks on life? Are you going to find fault with that? I don't find fault with that. These Rastafarians are the closest things to biblical spirituality than the saints themselves, in my opinion. So I do respect the spirituality of Rasta. I don't necessarily acknowledge at all the religiosity of Rasta. But I do respect the human nature, the attitudes, the desire for unity, the lack of racism and stuff like that, the respect for they say black woman and child, but really and truly they just respect women and children and human beings overall. But there is obviously pride to blackness, which I also respect. They're still connected to African roots, which I respect. They're not lost trying to find themselves in most cases. They know themselves. So that's why I did this show. I'm familiar with the beliefs. And I was trying to fashion my question so that, the Western audience could understand more about Rasta, as opposed to just thinking that Rastafarianism is reggae. There are plenty of people that sing reggae that are not Rasta. So hopefully people were able to learn a little bit more about Rastafarianism tonight, and I'm actually happy to have played a small part in all of that. And on that note, Messenger of Truth is signing out.